when you're laying this out, you want to make sure that there's no like weird bulges of foam. This one's pretty squared. You want to, if you see these corners that are really tucked in, just make sure and stick your hand in and like kind of smooth those out.
So these are okay, stick the foam
Yeah.
sticking out?
Yeah, don't worry about that part. When you pin, you want to pick up the fabric and the foam and kind of hold that in place, kind of hold it taut like that. What you're trying to do is line up that so you can see a little bit of the black and a little bit of the purple, so it's lined up evenly.
Yep.
You don't want too much, you don't want it like this, you don't want to pin it like that, because then it's going to take away underneath. So anyway, so you pick this up, make the foam
Find the
even.
halvesy spot.
Yeah, make it line up, and then take your pin, poke it through, and then see the tip, how I'm bringing the tip. I tuck the tip back in and then push that all the way in. So that's a super secure head. You push it all the way to the head so it's really secure. That way, and one of the things that you're gonna do is only put a pin where there's a sewn edge, so parallel to the sewn edge.
Oh.
And you want it to be at least 2 fingers from the edge. That way when they sew, they don't have to take the pins out while they sew. And this holds the foam in place so that it catches the foam in the seam. That we're trying, when we top stitch it, it's just to anchor this in place. We don't need to worry about any of the parts where there's unfinished edges. So see, and you don't have to go crazy with the pins when it's already stuffed with foam. We don't need a ton, just a few. So never do a pin on this middle part, because when we fold it up, the pins stick out and they stab people. So when you're kind of doing these edge parts, just do maybe like one right here and one right here.
Okay.
So do the armpits. You can usually get away with doing like maybe 5 or 6 along those. And then down here, see how I've got about 3? That's actually a pretty good amount, but if you wanted to add another one, you could. And then where this matters most, we're going to end up sewing a pocket right onto this, but when they sew, they're just kind of going to go around this perimeter and go up here and here and here. So basically follow the perimeter. This bottom part right here is where it's going to be the most important, just because this part needs to be anchored, because everyone's going to be living in these, and so when they're sleeping in them, it'll kind of bunch up the foam. And so this part right here is really important to anchor. But I think you can get away with just doing 4 across this bottom. Just make sure that you can feel the foam at the edge and move it. I mean, they should be pretty on to the edge, because we measured them before we stuffed them. So
When you stick the pin back in, are you going all the way through? Or
I'm just going in, when I put it,
into the foam?
I'm just going back into the foam. So
Okay.
it's not going to stick you here.
Okay.
It's just, so it's kind of like pinning in a pin cushion.
Right,
It's
right.
This is a funner way of pinning, I think. Angela, do you think it's necessary to do right here and here?
I haven't done top stitching for quite a while, so
I haven't either.
that would be a good question for a top stitcher.
Okay.
We can check on that.
One on each side. I would rather see if I was doing top
If you were
stitching.
top stitching? Okay. It wouldn't hurt. I mean,
And fairly high on it.
yeah, it doesn't hurt to add more pins, certainly.
Yeah,
It
and
just
if
takes more time.
if
but-
you put them on the sides like that, then they will be out of the way when you fold it too.
Yes, yes. Don't do one up here. Don't do one here. Just maybe
Yeah.
like here and here.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think-
probably sufficient.
Okay. Yep, I think that's great too. So just make sure.
When you're saying when you fold it.
Well, because I'll show you after we're done. We'll fold it. Show you how to fold it. So right here, this is kind
Do
of
we take
bulging.
these pins out as you go along in top stitch?
No,
You don't?
I mean you can, but sometimes they just zip through them and then they give them to somebody to take the pins out.
It's a
And-
great job for like
Yeah.
the 5 and 6 year olds. to
Yeah.
say, here's a pin cushion,
Or for somebody, so.
take the pins out and put
So
it,
I
yeah.
just kind of wanted to show, I mean, it's hard to see on the video, but it's kind of bulging right here. You'll see it's kind of coming up. So what I'm gonna do here is just kind of stick my arm in, grab the foam, and pull it just
Oh,
kind
that
of,
foam's kind of curled in there.
yeah, it just curled up, yeah. So I'm just gonna fix that so it's laying flat, and then I'll pin it in place so that when they sew it, it's not, every so often it'll just kind of bunch up a little bit. So this just makes it so that whoever's sewing it, if they've never sewn on foam, this makes it super easy and they can get through it pretty quickly.
It's top stitching just.
Yeah, it's, yeah, just,
On the outside.
yep.
Where's
Just
the place you usually get a bottleneck in this process?
anything sewing.
Sewing is usually a bottleneck.
Yeah. On putting a pin on these neck parts, it's good to make sure, I mean, always make sure that you're 2 fingers width away from the edge and that the pin is parallel. The tip of the pin is back in, tucked back in, but also that you don't have a pin like right here at the top because we're gonna serge this
Yeah.
and you don't wanna run into that pin.
Right.
So just a little bit down from the top when you get on these armpit parts. So. Yeah.
When you say you're gonna surge something, does that typically mean, I guess, do you ever say, I'm gonna sell something and you mean that you're gonna surge it? Or when you surge things, you specifically say, I'm surging?
Surging is different than sewing. Do you know what surging's
I know
kind
what
of-
it looks like.
Yeah,
It's a different machine they use.
yeah.
So I guess I was, so in the sewing world, if you say, I'm sewing, you're specifically using a sewing machine. If
Yeah.
you're surging, you're specifically
Usually.
surging.
I would say so.
Okay, so this one's pretty much done. You know, if there's more pins, it's okay. You're just trying to make sure that that edge is even and that it's not bulging anywhere and that the pins are tucked, the heads are tucked back in, and then you push the head all the way to the end so they're super secure. And then I can show you, oh yeah, I forgot to do this part. Okay, you gotta make sure the edge is,
It's kind of rolled right there.
yeah, so you just kind of pick this up and move it out, and then you hold it in place while you pin it. So then it'll be a little, yeah, just like that.
So I go all the way through.
Yep. Tuck it back. Yep. Okay, and then once it's to this stage, then it's ready for top stitching. And so what we do here, we'll have somebody on quality control just to make sure that the heads are tucked in, or the pins or the tips are tucked in. And then make sure that it kind of looks good on this side. And then fold it like this, and then we will probably just have, once they get to this stage, take them to the sewer who will start doing the top stitching. So we're just, yeah. Is that good?
Yeah.